Hello, I am back in Sweden. I kind of just want to get this out of the way, so here we go. I could lie and say that I just wanted to move back home and be with my family for a while, but that wouldn't be 100% true. I'm actually quite of a private person. I don't like to share a lot of private things and personal things online, but I know there's going to be a lot of questions, so I think it's just better to address it and get it out of the way. So, February was one of the hardest months I've had in a long time, if not ever. One of my closest friends in Korea sadly passed away, and that's something I've been trying to navigate with my friends, but also with myself. And then, not even 2 weeks later, I got the news that my mom got cancer. She's doing well though, she's doing well, but it's just the universe will not let me catch a break. Ever. As I said, my mom is doing fine, she's doing well, she's doing great actually, which I'm so thankful for. But obviously that set me down kind of a spiral, and you start thinking because you lost someone recently, and then you start missing your family already because of something like that happened. And I thought that obviously I just want to go back home, so that's what I did. To be truthful, I've struggled a lot in the past few years with a lot of personal things, but also with this burnout that I've been having. I had my first burnout when I was in high school, so I was about 18 years old, and I had a real bad burnout, and I had another burnout the year after, or if maybe it didn't even end, maybe I just kept having it. And so I think because of that, I've been prone to having more burnouts, and in true Sofia fashion, I just kept going and pushing. So in a way, I do welcome this as a great reset and a pause for me, because I think that that's actually what my body needs, is a little bit of a break. The hardest part about moving back home was leaving my life in Korea behind. Although this is not permanent by any means, I'm not permanently moving back to Sweden. Obviously, the most hard part was leaving my friends, my career, my boyfriend, my cat, my life. I've lived in Korea for 6.5 years, majority of my adult lives in Korea. I am going back to Korea this autumn to pick up my cat. To bring your cat from Korea to Sweden takes at least 4 months of paperwork, which I did not have time to deal with before I left, because I did not have 4 months. That decision was made because my boyfriend is working 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. every single day, and he travels a lot for work, so it's not sustainable to have him live alone with the cat, and I feel like it's not fair to our cat to be alone with him. So I'm bringing him to Sweden, but it's gonna take some time because I need to figure out all the paperwork, and I also need to make some more money because it's not cheap to fly between Korea and Sweden. It's also not cheap to bring a cat and extra luggage. Just like everyone else, I had a lot of plans and goals for myself this year that I wanted to accomplish that now has been put on hold, understandably so, and that's just how it is. On paper, it sounds so good to just move back to your hometown and work and be with your family, but I'm also from a very small town with not a lot of work opportunities. So there's a lot of things that I need to try to figure out, and I'm dealing with that on my own. But on the right side, I spent Easter weekend in the Swedish mountains with my brother. I love the Swedish mountains so much, especially in winter, because I do love skiing and snowboarding, but sadly, Easter is a little bit later this year, so we didn't have a lot of snow. We still hiked 2 different waterfalls, and we also went to the top of one of the mountains. It's not that high. It's not like Mount Everest high, but we still went up the backside of one of the mountains by car to this. We have these like lodges, we call them värmestugor in Sweden. I need to look up the translation for that. To this lodge where you can buy fika. So we had a little fika in the spring sun outside. It was lovely. We also went barbecuing with my uncle and my cousin. We cooked lots of food, ate lots of food, had a lovely Easter dinner with my grandma as well. And we just relaxed in nature. It was definitely something I needed. I've also stayed true to a New Year's resolution. That is so hard to say. I don't know why. I've been in Sweden for a little bit over a month now, and I've barely been on social media at all. I took a break. I haven't been posting, and it's been so nice. Thank God for public libraries, because I've read 3 books since coming back home. The first book I read was Powerless by Lauren Roberts, which I already returned. I've heard so much about this book series online, but I have to say I was pretty disappointed. The plot is a little bit too unoriginal. In my opinion, it's very similar to The Hunger Games. I don't really like the characters that much. and I think it's a bit predictable. And I wouldn't recommend it, to be honest, unless you're like 15 and want to start reading and need an easy way in. However, I need to give credit where credit is due. Lauren Roberts wrote her first book, Powerless, when she was 18. That is pretty cool. That is pretty cool. I have not written a book. That is more than a lot of people can say, so I will give her credit for that. I've also both read Fourth Wing and Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. These books, however, I do really like. The plot is a little bit predictable in some ways, but I do love me a good fantasy world with a lot of history, lores, details, a lot of information. I do really like fantasy worlds like that. And I love dragons. So I do find the relationship between the riders and the dragons very interesting. And also one thing that I really like with these books is the characters' sense of problem solving or conflict solving. There was actually a lot of times when I read these books that I thought this is going to become a problem and this is going to damage some relationships. But the characters handle it so different than I expected them to, because I'm so tired of reading books where it's just like set up to become a conflict. So it's very cliche and very predictable. But that I felt like we didn't get in these books, which I really appreciate. So yeah, I've been enjoying these books a lot. These are like 600 pages each. Either way, I'm standing in line or in queue to read the third book, Onyx Storm, but I was like 8 in line of 4 books, so hopefully I get to read it sometime soon. But as I said, these books are pretty thick, so it might take people some time. I'm just trying to figure out what I'm gonna read next, so any recommendations are welcome. Today is also a very beautiful day, so I'm thinking of going to my local thrift and make some damage, and then pick up some fika and head over to my grandma's house to just pay her a surprise visit. I also have 3 videos waiting from Korea that are gonna be posted even though I'm in Sweden. I just don't know when, because it's been a lot. In one of the vlogs that is literally from November last year, I haven't been able to post it because there's still things that haven't been released that are in that video. And this is why I don't usually vlog whenever I have shoots, because it can take forever for things to be released. There's still gonna be some Korea content coming up. Just a little disclaimer, I'm still in Sweden, but it's coming.